this new dog has this weird thing going on. I don't know if it's like normal with little dogs, but again, last night she like almost looks like she's like having a seizure. And like last night, it lasted for like 2 hours. Where
Well, you better be careful with that because we had a dog. One of our labs had seizures, and
I know we're trying to like find like a brain spell. I don't know because the vet couldn't find anything wrong with her. We didn't go in last night, and today she's fine. It was just a hectic night.
yeah, we had a lab before Maggie that had seizures all the time. It was horrible. Like for an hour and a half, you'd be sitting on the floor with the dog.
Or Maggie.
What are you talking about? You mean
before Maggie?
it was not when we were?
No, when I lived at home, Amanda was the dog.
Oh, when you were
No, I know, and it's not. It wasn't like a. I don't know. It's crazy, but just let's switch gears here and dive into the market a little bit. Looks like we have a mixed bag of hammers for the open. Nasdaq's up a little, the rest of the market's down a little bit. There's been definitely some interesting news that's surfaced over the last 24 hours with individual stocks, starting with Tesla entering the S&P, which is obviously a big deal. Tesla's up pretty big on the news. And I don't know if you're getting a sympathy trade with NIO. NIO has their earnings today, which has obviously been on a roller coaster lately ever since that big short came out and kind of denounced them. And yesterday they bounced back, but that'll be interesting to see. DraftKings got an upgrade to 100 this morning, which is nice to see. They're getting a little look this morning. Amazon announced that they're getting into the healthcare business. Mike, curious to hear your thoughts on this. I know you're big on CVS.
I think it's a great buying opportunity in CVS.
I totally agree with you.
Like I see them down this morning. I don't see that hurting them whatsoever. If anything, it just brings to light where they're heading. There's no way that hurts CVS with their stranglehold.
Well, it won't help CVS if Amazon's getting in the same business.
Doesn't matter, Dad. If anything, Amazon will acquire CVS at some point.
Well, look, it seems like anytime Amazon announces that they're getting into any business, the people who are already in that business automatically get a sell-off, and it usually is short-lived. So,
and my thoughts on that with brands. CVS is healthcare. When you think of CVS, you think of medicine.
And to be honest, it wouldn't shock me. Like you look at them, they're down They're down $5.77. They were down a little bit more this morning before, but it wouldn't shock me if you see this stock only down like $2.50 at the end.
If I didn't own so much, I'd be buying more. But I'm already, even after this dip, I'm up a nice amount on them, and that's just an anchor for me.
I hear you. And then Plug did an offering. Dag, curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean they raised about $845 million. It's unbelievable when you think about where that company was 3-4 months ago. To be able to raise this much money without any debt, it's quite remarkable. And they're going to be able to do a lot of interesting things with that money if they're smart. So I kind of look at it as a positive over the long term. Obviously, the stock, it's short-term negative, but there is.
So when are you looking to jump back in that?
Well, they're a different company than they were when it was a $6-7 stock. If they just raised almost $1 billion,
mm-hmm.
And that's the thing we got to always think about with these companies that raise money at these inflated prices. They're getting a gift. It's different than companies that raise money like Carnival Cruise because they need the money. Carnival Cruise to survive needed to raise money. Plug is doing this, and maybe they're going to make acquisitions. I mean, it looks like most of the money was raised for general purposes.
So you're getting back in that immediately?
No, not immediately, but I think it's one to watch. The deal was done at 22.25, so that's going to be the anchor price to watch on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, with the way that stock acts, I don't think it would shock anyone if you see it rally and turn positive today even. Like, that stock, it just seems like you can't hold it down. I feel like this could be an interesting time to get back in for sure.
I think an interesting sector to talk about is that with this whole vaccine distribution, I think Kramer brought it up recently with UPS and FedEx. I've been looking at UPS this morning because I just feel as though you have to think about that widespread distribution. They're going to be winning. in that category. Like they're going to be relied on for getting it out there. And not to mention I think are trading at a pretty reasonable place right now.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know, what their facilities allow them to do with the.
But it's also heading into holiday season. Like they've kind of, with Amazon getting in the space, they got beaten down a bit. Them and FedEx, and when push comes to shove, they're both not going anywhere.
I mean, FedEx is almost at an all-time high. And, I don't know about UPS.
UPS is not.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty close.
Pretty close. I mean, those stocks have had a tremendous run-up. The one thing that came out yesterday, the 13 Fs, and, big hedge funds that have bought and sold securities, they have to, anything over a certain percentage, they have to report. So all that reporting went in last night. So Berkshire Hathaway, showed what they were buying and selling. And the names that they were buying were the drug stocks. Merck, Bristol Myers, they added to. They decreased Apple, which might have just been a rounding amount, and they got out of JP Morgan. So you'll see reactions to a lot of stocks today off of 13 Fs from hundreds of hedge funds that have repositioned themselves. So you got to almost look up to see if a stock is up or down because of that last night.
What is this? People that are like basically trying to ride the trade with those people? Like, what's going to cause it to now?
Yeah. Like if you look at Bristol Myers today, it's up a couple of percent. Merck, JP Morgan's down. Now they may have gone in that direction anyway, but a lot of it is because of what Berkshire Hathaway did. And there's a lot of other hedge funds that people follow, and the stocks that they bought and sold will probably be, also reacting to that in a big way today. So that's something to keep in mind for today.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing here to kind of add to the healthcare talk you're saying and what Mike was saying about UPS. It looks like Pfizer is launching their own pilot delivery program for the COVID-19 vaccine candidates. So I don't know if that means that, excuse me, they're not going to be using UPS or FedEx or what that looks like. But remember that the vaccine needs to be stored at minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't know how that changes around, what that looks like. But that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. And look, you had a lot of the big retail stocks have earnings this morning. Walmart, Home Depot, Kohl's, they all, it looks like Walmart earned $1.34 per share, which was about 12 cents better than, or 16 cents better than expectations. And the revenues beat forecast as well. The stock was up a little pre-market, but now it's down about 1.7%, $2.50. But obviously, the Dow in general is selling off today. And then Home Depot is also down. They also had earnings that were above expectations. It's amazing that these companies continue to beat expectations, which continue to increase. Like, how does a Home Depot time and time again beat expectations? It's just.
I mean, we talked about that during the pandemic with everything boarded up. All of those protests that helped Home Depot. The people improving their homes while lockdown. I know,
but then it gets factored into the expectations, and it just seems like time and time again it's a beat. It's just crazy to me.
Well, it's Home Depot. Like, what? Yeah. At the end of the day, why wouldn't they keep going up?
Well, I mean, I think people are saying, okay, now what? It's kind of like what happened. If you think about it, it's like a hurricane that hasn't ended for Home Depot.
Yeah,
it's going to end at some point, and that's what the market is saying. I mean, Home Depot will not do as well after people are out and about, and that's a year away.
And that makes sense. I'm just seeing that GameStop there's a headline saying it's being pushed to conduct a strategic review. I think this is the old news, but basically the Ryan Cohen guy started Chewy, I think, is like really pushing them to look at reducing the number of brick and mortar stores and going more in the e-commerce direction. So this isn't like a new thing, but
it's not a new thing, but it's still, the stock has come back down, and you know, it's one of those things to just follow. I think they keep kind of getting thrown under the radar. And at one point, GameStop is just going to double overnight, and people are going to be like, wait, what just happened here? So I don't currently own it. I've timed in and out of that pretty well, like 3 different times, but I have my eye on jumping back in that in the new year as an anchor at some point.
And this is an interesting one here. I know I've brought up AMC Entertainment at the movie theaters a few times, but Cinemark, they announced a deal with Comcast, which basically allows Comcast to take movies and put them right to digitally distribution. So, if anything, I actually look at that as a negative for Cinemark, because it just shows that they're trying to figure out ways to make extra cash. I think AMC did a similar deal with Universal earlier in the year, but that stock's down on that news. Not a crazy amount. It's obviously been in a world of hurt along with these other stocks, but them and AMC are both down this morning. So,
yeah, I mean, look, we're going to get some profit taking within this market that is just explosive to the upside. And today might be one of those days off of some earnings in the Dow stocks. And, you know, there's no reason the market couldn't be off 300 or 400 points and still be on this gigantic bull run that we're seeing. So today could be one of those days. There's a lot of people, though, that are trying to hedge a down market, and that's going to hold the market up to some extent.
Jack, could you kind of explain how, like, could you dive into that a little bit? I know what you mean with unwinding their hedges, but kind of talk about, like, what really goes on with how that works.
Well, there's all different ways that people are hedging their portfolios or playing the short side, either through options, futures, whatever method they use. That has to be undone at some point. And that's just buying power for the market down the road, whether it's short a stock, selling options, or being short the futures. That is a potential buyer in the marketplace down the road. So the higher all that hedging is, the less the market's going to go down.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a gradual thing, and it's hard to know if it's, you know, there's over hedging going on. There's people that measure that, different newsletters that tell you these things, but it's just something to think about. I see Bitcoin is above 17,000 today.
Yep.
That's insane.
Just doesn't stop going up.
I mean, it basically went in a straight line from 16 to 17,000.
Yeah. And
like, yeah. So,
yeah.
But, you know, the Bitcoin bulls and the people who like study the chart claim that right now there's just no resistance till 20,000, and you should see it kind of trade to 20,000 like fairly quickly. I don't know if they're right, but
people, they have no idea what they're talking about. I love seeing these things.
From a technical point of view, that they're right. There's nothing on the chart.
Yeah, I know. I don't buy it.
I will say, Mike, if you follow like technical chartists, they're right a lot of the time. Like they're pretty damn
until they're not. And Bitcoin, a lot of times those guys strike that chord when things are going well. They're geniuses, and then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, what happened here? I would not read too much into the technicals with Bitcoin.
Could we read a little into this DraftKings pop?
Yeah, I would like to know. This analyst is called Loop. I've never even heard of them.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was
probably just a guy that's hoping it goes way up.
I mean, Loop, does that stand for like 4 guys named Larry, Oscar? I mean, I don't know what's going on there.
I don't, the whole, like, that just scares me owning DraftKings where someone's just, oh, it's heading to 100. It's like, what? Off of what?
Well, I'm sure there's some fundamental analysis behind it, and this stock has gotten hit hard. So the timing is pretty good on coming out with something like that.
I love it. They go out on a limb and they raise the price.
I mean, what kind of limb is it? It's just expecting gambling to pick up steam. And
well, no, I mean, keep in mind that when the stock was like in the 60s, there were tons of companies that were legit giving it 85 price targets. So 100 isn't that crazy.
Yeah, and if you're an analyst and you want to get in the headlines, you're not going to put a $98 price target on it.
That's a good
it's all
point.
marketing. Exactly.
I mean, look, we're here talking about who are these loop guys. So clearly they did something right with that.
So maybe we should just start putting out price targets for stocks.
Dad, what are your thoughts on this recent Boeing move? I mean, it got over 200 for a bit. It's obviously taken a little breather today. Does it?
Yeah, I think it's justified because the 737 MAX is going to probably be announced tomorrow or the next day. And, that on top of the vaccines, it's like a double positive. And, let's see if they start getting orders or people start flying in the 737 MAX. I'm pretty sure it's a no-brainer that they will. We talked about that a couple of months ago where people were offered money to fly it and they would. But if you ask them would they fly it, they say no until they're offered money. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's just a matter of who's ordering the planes. And Asia, a lot of Asia's back to normal. So there's going to be a need for aircraft. And Boeing is one of the only players in the world that provides that. And it's gonna be fine. It's just a matter of how long it takes. So we'll have to see. I think we lost Dan.
Did we?
Yeah, his internet. I'm not seeing him on the.
Yeah, the internet down there is way behind, I guess. Dad, what do you think? We haven't brought this stock up in a while on this show, Lululemon. I was kind of having my eye on them this morning, heading into holiday season, thinking about the way their taxes are structured with Biden in office, domestic. I think they're a very interesting play here.
Yeah, the stock has been treading water for, let's see, let me just take a look at the long-term chart on it. It's really in the same place it was in May.
Yeah, what's going on there?
It had a run up and then came back down. It's a tough call. You can make a case this chart looks heavy.
Really?
Yeah, and it could have a big leg down, but it's not showing me anything here. I would not feel comfortable playing it unless it broke out of this chart, maybe 360 on the upside.
And how about Spotify? That's kind of fallen off a bit.
Wait, what's 360 on the upside?
Well, we're talking about Lululemon, which has been treading water for about 4 months.
Yeah, and you have to think going into the sentiment around holiday season, gifts, Lulu, they're one of those brands that people like for their own activewear, but also as a present.
Yeah, I like Lulu. I love the fact that they made that acquisition in like the stay-at-home fitness space.
Yeah, and they've kind of been not talked about lately for some reason.
Yeah, you wonder about why people would be buying a lot of the Lululemon stuff if they're staying home.
Because they like feeling important.
Yeah, no, what do you mean? Lululemon's the ultimate stay-at-home, comfortable clothing.
People remember Nick. He would just go there to get Lulu.
Well, no, Dad, it's the complete opposite of what you just said. If you're staying at home, you're rocking Lulu.
I'm wearing a T-shirt and an.
Dad, you're not the demographic.
I'm wearing
out of business.
I'm wearing Lulu sweatpants right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay.
I honestly don't even. I've never even been in a Lulu, but I love the name.
Well, I'll tell you, when you go to Lululemon, you're dropping over $100 on a pair of sweatpants.
Reminds me of Target. You go in there for a water and you walk out of there with like 3 bags full of shit. How about Target? Speaking of which,
Spotify. What happened to Spotify?
Well, yeah, Spotify I'm the owner of, and I added when it dipped under 250 last time, and now
it looks awful.
It looks awful, but it's a stock that is just going nowhere but up long term. When you think about what the infancy of podcasting and what they've actually been doing behind closed doors. I'm a huge Spotify believer. I pay for them monthly.
Yesterday was a really strange day. I was watching that stock trade, and it just was falling every minute. I don't know what was going on. but it gave up a lot. I don't know what was happening. Just
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's a common theme that it seems like unless people are lying, people are slowly scaling back in these big tech names that have given them, triple digit gains and getting in some of these cyclical industrial names that have been duds for years that now people are saying are underpriced because we're about to, Dad, like you keep saying, get infrastructure packages, things that are going to cause those companies to see growth for the first time in like arguably decades. So if
I don't either way though. Spotify to me is not a normal tech play when you think about podcasts.
It's as normal of a tech
No,
play
it's not though, because when you talk about the cyclicals, I'll tell you why it's not, Dan. When you look at trends and where the world's heading, podcasting is just in its infancy with monetization. So what Spotify's been doing, luring in these Joe Rogans of the world, it's literally inning one in that world. So I don't look at them as a mature tech.
But are they the only player? Maybe the competition is
Pandora. Like at the end of the day, who is not on Spotify spending money like Netflix?
Exactly.
What about
no, but they're the number one player. They are by far in that space. It's not even close.
Yeah, but what if Trump starts a TV network?
Who cares what? I'm going to get off Spotify as a consumer. What is going to get someone off of Spotify monthly? Tell me.
I think it's literally the same argument as Netflix in the sense that it's a great company. No one's going to get off of it. But
no, that is not. It's not the same as Netflix. People would get off Netflix first. With Spotify, it's way different.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with a lot of these big tech companies because a lot of the charts look very similar. They look like they've been going back and forth in huge ranges, and now they're all at the bottom of those ranges.
The tech companies are going to keep going up. The world is built on technology, so it's funny to even fathom the thought of, we're getting out of tech for years. It's bullshit.
Again, don't forget the companies in the stock can be separated for a long time.
It wouldn't shock me if you see Spotify back down at 150. And
what? You want to make a bet on that here online? I would shock me to the point of Bitcoin trading under 10,000.
If the market's gonna like really flush tech out, like people are kind of saying, that will happen, and you'll see Netflix at like the 380 range.
I don't put Netflix and Spotify in the same arena at all.
The charts are the exact same.
I know, and they're not the same stories at all.
Yeah,
Netflix has competition problems.
No, I know, but you could almost look at it like these stocks are all trading together, like these big tech stocks.
I'm actually going to do an option play on Spotify today.
Let me ask you something. Does Sirius Network at all compete with Spotify?
Yeah, I mean, for
Spotify's brand is next level. They're not even. I don't even think.
Because take a look at Sirius's chart.
Sirius chart looks great to me. I mean, it looks like if you can get over the 675 hump, or you're at least going to test the 675 hump, which is way higher than it is here. So that's 10%.
It actually is looking much better as a chart than some of these.
I mean, you can't even compare it. The other ones all look like they're on the verge of like actually breaking down. And I sold all my Netflix yesterday. I took a huge loss on it, and it is what it is. I'm out of the name, and so maybe part of me is biased right now, but I don't think so. I still hold some major tech companies that have me worried because it's tough to imagine right now, like why somebody's gonna throw a lot of money at a tech company that's already given them like a 300% gain just a couple of years when now you got companies like Ford that are, trending in the right direction. And what makes these tech companies ultimately go up so much more is people playing the trends. And I
think it's about choosing your battles with which tech companies are going to be falling off the map here. Like getting out of Netflix was smart. Getting out of Amazon would not be.
Well, yeah, even like I got out of Netflix, but I'm still going hard on Twilio because in my mind, Twilio is, maybe an inning 3 of their business model, and Netflix is maybe an inning 8. And
I think it also goes to show, though, as we've learned maturing, as Dad's taught us, early on I was so top heavy in Facebook. It's about having balance and making sure you're not just relying on a couple companies to just be your portfolio, because we know what could happen with that.
Big time. Yeah. I mean,
that way you don't even worry about it if tech shits the bed a bit. If you're not top heavy in tech with 1 or 2 names, it's not as big of a deal. Like I've been trying to balance that out way more.
Yeah, especially in this type of atmosphere where it's tough to know if, usually when you hear everybody saying one thing, you want to go the other way. But, right now it's tough to envision a situation where all these cyclical names are just going to go back to not being hot stocks and tech's just going to be in. But then again, no, it's really not.
And
It's
look,
not.
yeah, saying that all, with all the crap that you've heard about Alphabet, that's almost at an all-time high.
Exactly. That's what happens.
Getting hit.
And then you look at Uber, the way it's bounced back. Like all these names, tech sucks.
Well, look, I think Uber's starting to not really be looked at as a tech stock as much as a transport stock. That was something we didn't bring up yesterday on our show. Uber's selling their self-driving business. It shows like they're focusing on what they are.
That was interesting. They must be way behind on.
I don't even think it's that they're that behind. When you think about it, like companies like Twilio, for example, they are good at what they do. If you're an Uber, you rely on the fact that people are going to use you for transportation. And when self-driving becomes a regular thing, there's going to be so many services out there that Uber could plug into their API.
Oh, yeah, they're an ultimate logistics power grid.
Right. If you think about it, Mike, in the old days, you thought we should try to develop some type of device, remember, to deliver?
No, I never said we should develop it. I said we should partner with a drone company. That was like 5 years ago.
The bottom line, what Uber figured out is that there's better companies out there doing that they don't need to be involved in.
Well, I think it shows for even that we could see with our business, you do what you do best. Like everyone has what they know best.
I think investors loved it too. Like Uber has been not selling. People have been buying Uber. Yesterday it got over 50, and today you're getting a little pullback. I think Uber is like in kind of breakout territory when you look at their chart, and maybe you can kind of even buy the dip today, even though it's not much of a dip. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Uber's chart?
Yeah, no, it looks good. What I don't like are the fundamentals. When you look at them, they still can't make money from ride sharing.
But they could in food, as we've seen. DoorDash just profited.
What I like about Uber with the ride-sharing business is, like, if they really wanted, they could triple the prices. Sure, their business would fall off a little, but they would make so much damn money.
I think that's not the price sensitivity with rides is, I think, way steeper than we think when it comes to just it's not like a Netflix subscription. I don't think people would pay that much more for a ride where they start shifting habits on those rides. That's a price sensitive thing.
It is price sensitive, but like,
even last night going on a lift to mom and dad's, like that stuff adds up. It's like up $8.80 here. If you are like, living check to check, that's just not even that affordable.
100%. But those companies really should be catering to more of like a higher end crowd. And even if
you remember, that's what they started as.
I know
Uber was a black service.
And I always thought that was a great model. Like, why do you need to be catering to every single person in the world? Cater to
user, they needed way more users.
Yeah, unless they're going to make way more per user. But obviously,
that's the true irony when you talk that out. Is they could easily get back to that exclusivity model and crush it on a much bigger scale than they did.
I know. Like, to me, that's the model for them. I don't really, when you look at the way.
Even look at food delivery. It's the same jam when you're doing high volume, low tickets. You don't make money. You make money on bigger tickets.
Dude, the same exact thing. Like, all these companies should be charging way more to the consumer. The problem is they all need to do it together. The one who does it first kind of gets left behind. Dad, you got any last stocks you're looking at today?
No, I think, this is a day where you probably just want to take a step back and see what you're in and try to.
I'm going to dish my BABA just for a little tax loss here. I don't have much to work with before the end of the year to get rid of lower my taxes.
I was actually looking at buying BABA. It's just funny. Like, this is what makes markets, like Dad always says.
Well, I have no doubt it's a good buying opportunity. I'm just trying to free up a little cash. And
one thing I did hear, Mark Mobius, who used to be involved with Templeton funds all around the world. He has his own management company now, and he thinks all this stuff like with ants and BABA is nothing. And
And yeah, to add to that, the day that China comes out, or whoever's going to say that IPO is back on, BABA will be up like 18%.
Yeah, maybe I'll just hold BABA then.
You can't sell BABA here. You can.
I mean, I don't own that. I only own 50 shares. It's not like it's.
Yeah, to me, that stock's going to 350 before it falls
But
much
I think even without ants, they'll be fine.
Yeah, of course. They don't need that.
So
yeah, I agree. I think BABA's in a world of its own because it's been undervalued for a really long time. Put it in different categories of tech stocks that people are arguably looking to take profits in to get into these more undervalued names. BABA is a beast. And continue to push in China. I'm telling you, I was there for over a month. They are way ahead of what Amazon's doing here, and they're not valued like it at all. So all that you need to see happen is Biden and China have pretty strong relationship together, which you would kind of expect. And people are going to start to feel way more comfortable investing in these Chinese stocks again. And BABA has come down so much. I love BABA here. I own a nice amount. And with that said, guys, it's 9 a.m. So Rolland Market Mashup, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make some money today.